I never slept through the night anymore. My body didn't trust peace. Every creak in the floorboards was a rifle bolt in my mind. Every gust of wind was gas leaking through the trenches again. People say the war ended. For them, maybe. But for me, the war just moved inside. I came home with a medal, but no one would look me in the eye. Not because I was a soldier, but because I was a black soldier. They wanted us invisible again, just shadows in the corner, filling their factories, cleaning their floors, pretending we hadn't stood beside them with bayonets in the mud. My mama tried to celebrate me. She made cornbread that night, just like when I was a boy. She even pulled out the blue tablecloth we only used for Christmas. But I couldn't eat. The smell of gunpowder was still in my nose. The taste of blood still on my tongue. I sat there, hands shaking under the table. She reached for them. I pulled away. I didn't want her to feel the tremble. Didn't want her to know her son came home, broken. She said, "It's okay, baby. You're safe now." But what did she know about safety? She hadn't spent nights counting shells over her head. She hadn't held a friend's hand as he bled out in the mud. I tried to get work, but the factories said they were full. They weren't. Just full of men the right color. I even tried the rail yard, but the foreman just laughed. Told me to go be a hero somewhere else. Said my uniform made the other workers uncomfortable. My nightmares didn't care if I was employed or not. They came every night. Same dream. I'm crawling on the ground, screaming my friend's name. He doesn't answer. Just his helmet left, spinning in the mud. Sometimes I wake up gasping for air, clawing at my chest. Like there's still barbed wire wrapped around it. The doctors called it nerves. Said I needed rest. Told me to take long walks. To breathe deeply. To pray. No one said the word shell shock. That word was for white boys. For us, it was weakness. A failure of spirit. They didn't see how my fingers twitched when I heard a door slam. Or how I avoided firecrackers on the 4th of July. Or how I sat in the back of churches. Always near the exit. Just in case. Even my own brothers in arms didn't talk about it. We'd nod at each other in the street, but never speak. Our silence was a shared moment, an understanding. A scar passed between us like a secret handshake. There were others like me, silent, eyes like broken clocks. We haunted the edges of the city, too proud to beg, too shattered to fight. The world had moved on without us. Victory parades, job openings, jazz music on the radio. But I still heard artillery when I closed my eyes. I tried to write about it once. Sat down with a pen and paper. But my hand wouldn't stop shaking. And when I finally pressed the pen down, all I could write was his name. One name. Over and over. Like a prayer. Like an apology. We weren't supposed to speak of it. The war. The pain. The silence inside. But silence grows roots. And one night, those roots reached up from my chest and choked me in my sleep. And when I woke, I was crying into my pillow, like I had when I was 5 years old. Except this time, there was no one to come in and hold me. They asked me once if I'd do it again, if I'd volunteer, if I'd put on the uniform again. I didn't answer. Not because I didn't know, but because the truth felt like a betrayal. I'd do it again, even knowing what it cost me. Because for a moment, I thought I mattered. In France, we were soldiers. They didn't see my skin first. They saw my boots in the mud beside theirs. My bayonet. My fear. My courage. But the moment the ship docked back home, I wasn't a soldier anymore. I was a Negro again. A problem. A face to ignore. A name to forget. White men spit near my feet. One called me boy, in front of my little niece. And when I looked him in the eye, he smiled and asked if I had something to say. I said nothing. That silence. That was the last thing I brought home from the war. The newspapers never printed our names. Only the white battalions. Only the heroes they wanted. Never the men like me who bled in the shadows, who dug the trenches, who ran into machine guns without promises. They told us, don't cause trouble. Be grateful. Don't expect too much. But I remember Sergeant Miller, shot through the stomach, bleeding out. He said, tell them we didn't die for nothing. I couldn't tell them. They weren't listening. One night, I went to the veterans meeting hall, stood outside, watched the light flickering through the curtains. Inside, then laughed, drank, spoke of memories I recognized. But when I stepped inside, the room fell quiet. One of them stood, said, Coloreds got their own hall, then turned his back. The others followed. Even the ones I knew had served near me. I turned and left, my medal clinking like a chain in my pocket. That night, I walked for hours, past shuttered stores, fading signs, abandoned benches. The city looked like it had forgotten me. A stray dog followed me for a while, dirty, limping. We didn't say anything. Just two broken things wandering through a world that didn't want us. When I finally got home, I took off the medal and put it in a drawer, next to my discharge papers, next to the picture of our unit. Half the men now gone. I sat in the dark for a long time. No light, no sound, only the faint ticking of the clock. Each second a small reminder. You're still here. But I didn't know why. Mama knocked once. Didn't come in. Just stood there, hand on the doorframe. I made tea, she said. I didn't answer. Didn't move. She left the door ajar. The smell of mint drifted in. It smelled like Sunday mornings before the war. I wanted to cry, but the tears wouldn't come. Like my body had forgotten how. Instead, I whispered, why did I come back? And the room gave me no answer. I started avoiding mirrors. They didn't lie. They just showed me a truth I didn't want to accept. I had aged 10 years in two. My eyes didn't look back anymore. They only stared forward, like they were waiting for the next explosion. One Sunday, I tried to go to church. Tried to sing the hymns like I used to. But the organ reminded me of sirens. The stained glass of blood on cloth. When the preacher raised his voice, I ducked. Before I could even think, people turned. I smiled and excused myself. But inside, I was already miles away. Back in the trench. Cold. Mud in my boots. My friend Mitchell whispering he couldn't feel his legs. I held him. He bled out, holding on to me like I was his last breath. I didn't know what to say. So I just kept saying, you're okay, Mitch. You're okay. He wasn't. Sometimes I hear his voice. Not in dreams. In the middle of the day. Like he's walking beside me. Like he never left that trench. Maybe I never did either. One night, I tried to write to his mother. Started the letter 4 times. Each time, I tore it up. What do you say to a mother when the only thing you brought back was her son's dog tag? The tag was still in my drawer. Still warm sometimes. Or maybe it was just my hand shaking again. I stopped going out. The noise, the looks, the silence. They all screamed louder than bombs ever could. Even laughter made me flinch. Because it felt like the world had found joy again. While I was still frozen in the mud. Mama tried. She really did. She started leaving notes instead of knocking. Don't forget to eat. Your favorite biscuits are in the oven. God didn't bring you home just to watch you disappear. I'd read them. Sometimes I'd cry. Other times I'd just sit there, watching the sunlight crawl across the floor. I read somewhere that trauma can rewire the brain. They say it changes how you process time, how you hold memory. No one said that sometimes. It turns you into a ghost in your own skin. The VA hospital was across town. I thought about going, but someone told me they'd turn me away. that they were full, that black men like me just needed rest and discipline. So I stayed home and let the silence settle like dust. I tried to help Mama in the garden, thought maybe the dirt would ground me, but the moment I heard a shovel hit stone, I dropped to the ground, covered my head. She rushed over. I told her it was just a reaction, but I couldn't stop trembling. I started waking up before the sun, sitting at the kitchen table, listening to the town wake up, watching the sky go from black to gray, still unsure if I belonged in any version of daylight. One morning, I saw a neighbor hanging laundry. She waved. I looked down, not because I didn't want to wave back, but because I didn't want to see her pity. Later that week, I went to the rail yard, just to walk, watch the engines, feel something heavy and real move. A boy was staring at me, about 10, maybe 11. He looked at my boots, then my face. "Did you fight in the war?" he asked. I nodded. He said, "My uncle did too, but he didn't come back." I wanted to tell him. Neither did I. Not all of me. One day, I opened the drawer again. The metal was still there, tarnished now, dull in the corners, like it was tired of pretending to mean something. I took it out and held it in my palm. It didn't feel like honor. It felt like weight, like every name I couldn't say, every scream I'd buried. I thought about throwing it away, tossing it into the river near the bridge where the trains crossed, letting it sink, quiet, forgotten. But I didn't, not because I needed it, but because it was proof, not of glory, of survival, of silence endured, of things seen and swallowed and never spoken. I walked to the Veterans Cemetery that afternoon, just walked, my boots scuffing against gravel. There were rows and rows of stone, names carved clean, flags beside each one. I found Mitchell's name. Kneeling there, I finally spoke. "I'm sorry, brother. I tried to be the one who remembered, but I couldn't carry it alone." A breeze picked up, and the flag beside his grave fluttered once, like he was listening. Or maybe that's just what I needed to believe. I stayed there until the sun touched the hills. No one came, and for the first time, that felt okay. I walked home slowly, stopped by the store for milk. An old man held the door for me. I nodded. He nodded back. Small things, like maybe the world was turning again. Just a little. When I got home, Mama was on the porch, rocking, humming something soft. She looked at me, really looked, and didn't say a word. I sat beside her. The wood creaked beneath us like a memory. She handed me a biscuit, still warm. "I kept it for you," she said. "I knew you'd be hungry today." I took it, and for the first time in a long while, I ate, not to forget, but because I remembered, because I chose to stay. That night, I didn't wake up at 3 a.m. I slept through the dark, and when the morning light finally crept through the window, I opened my eyes and let it in.